please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, very good morning. You're watching Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. I'm Ekta Batra and with me is Nigel D'Souza. Hi, Nigel.
Hi, Ekta. Well, earnings season is well and truly here. I'm going to be looking out for the aluminium stocks today. Overnight, LME aluminium prices was down nearly around 10%. So a lot of these metal stocks will be under some pressure. Well, we'll talk more about that. Back home on the Lord Street, the market slipped from the high point of the day. It ended, though, with some minor gains. The Sensex, in fact, slipped close to around 200 points. The Nifty ended 56 points away from the highs. The Nifty Bank as well slipped over 100 points from the highs to close with some gains of around 10 to around 15 points. The mid-cap index, though, that was the outperformer yesterday. That did a relative outperformance, ending with a gain of around 0.5%. This morning, the SGX Nifty, by the way, is suggesting a cut of around 35 to around 40 points. Anisha Jain joins us, though, early this morning to stack up all the cues. Hey Anisha, good morning.
Good morning, Nigel. Well, yes, yesterday was all about TCS, with the company hitting the $100 billion mark when it comes to the market cap, and that is what was aiding and giving support to the markets in the first half. But in the second half, the IT stocks slipped, and that's the reason the market also slipped from the day's high. The Nifty ending 56 points off from the day's high, as you mentioned, and the TCS stock also down about 4%. Perhaps some bit of profit booking seen on the IT stocks. Talking about profit booking, that is a trend that continues as well as far as the overall cash market is concerned, because the FIIs continue to sell. Now, yesterday, for example, they sold around 260 crores in the cash market, while DIIs, they continue to pump in the money because they added around 290 crores into the cash market yesterday. But talking about the global cues, because that really remain important for the day today. Now, the US markets actually closed a tad bit mixed, with the Dow and Nasdaq closing tad bit in the red, given the technology stocks did not perform well. The S&P markets actually closed a tad bit mixed, with the Dow and Nasdaq closing tad bit in the red, given the technology stocks did not perform well. The S&P 500, however, closed mildly in the green, given the support provided by the telecommunication stocks. Now, the factors that are really moving the global markets, first up, the US yields. Now, they are trading very close to the 3% mark, which is close to a 4-year high. Yesterday, it reached around 2.99% level, given the fears of rising inflation and interest rate movement. So that is what is causing a bit of nervousness in the US markets. Other than that, the strength in the dollar continues. The dollar index is now trading close to the 90 mark. Even in rupee terms, it was yesterday, the closing was around 66.5. So that is one macro level that we should keenly watch out for. Talking about the other macros to watch out for, crude. Now, that remains important because remember, the crude has hit the $75 per barrel mark, gained around 2-3% yesterday as well. It is very close to the 3-year high now. So that also remains a very important space. Other than that, SGX Nifty, as you mentioned from the Asian screen, is suggesting a downtick of around 40 points. But as experts have been talking about, it hasn't been a really good indicator in the last 4-5 days. So let's see how that opens. Other than that, mixed cues coming from Asia as well, because Nikkei, the last time I checked, was trading in the green. But other than that, Kospi, Taiwan trades, they were all trading in a bit of red. The important levels to watch out for today, experts say 10,495, 10,500 on the lower side is a good support level, and on the upside, 10,600 sentimentally and 10,640 close to yesterday's high is the space that is acting really as a bit of resistance for our markets. Back to you.
Okay, and Anisha, what about stocks?
Well, a lot of stocks ready to watch out for. Top on the mind is IT stocks that continue to remain in news. Of course, there was an investor meet that Fortis held yesterday. Important commentary coming in terms of the optimism and the 3-year plan that they have shared. So that space might remain active. Of course, the rupee movement also might provide some tailwinds there. Other than that, crude remains in focus. All the OMCs might remain in focus, the likes of HPCL, BPCL, etc. Metals, now there are reports suggesting that US might delay sanctions on Rusal and Russia a bit. Now, that's the reason the aluminium prices dipped 7% yesterday. So all those metal stocks that have been gaining of late might see a bit of knockoff. Other than that, a lot of results that are expected today, the likes of Bharti Airtel, as well as Sadbhav and other stocks that might be in news. But the stocks that reported numbers post markets yesterday, where Bharti Infratel reported slightly ahead of expectations kind of results. The profit came in at 606 crores versus 585 crores. So that might see a bit of green tick. LIC Housing Finance pretty much much inline set of numbers. The net interest margin has improved given the higher disbursement towards the non-home loan disbursements. But overall, the numbers remain in line with expectations. Reliance Naval, there is no improvement. In fact, there's a bit of deterioration because the losses have expanded to over 1,000 crores now versus a loss of around 577 crores. And this is just a quarterly loss that I'm talking about. Other than that, Indiabull Ventures, a decent set of numbers coming in with the net profit expanding by around 13%. Fortis, there is some further news coming, and this is something that Nisha picked up from her sources, suggesting that Manipal TPG retains the right to match the highest bidder for Fortis Healthcare. So let's see what comes out of that particular story. Other than that, Ujjivan might remain in focus because Sudha Suresh has resigned and the MD and CEO of the company effective from June 30th, so that will be in focus. And lastly, music broadcast. Now, yesterday the company approved the acquisition of one of the radio business, so that also might see a bit of green tick. Back to you.
Okay, to the big story from North Block. The GST coffers are finally surging. Sources say that collection for March stands at 96,000 crore rupees. That's the highest really we have seen till date. Timsi Jaipuria filed this report.
Well, that's right. March collections have come in as a surprise for the government, but not too much of a surprise, as government was expecting that government will get a collection of around 1 lakh odd crore rupees for the month of March. But as of today, that is as of April 23rd, government has received close to about 96,000 odd crore rupees from 55 lakh returns that have been filed under the GST regime. Now, what I understand from sources is the fact that about 76,000 odd crore rupees is a combination of CGST, SGST, IGST and the compensation cess, whereas around 20,000 odd crore rupees has come in from IGST from imports. On the other hand, government officials indicate that government is expecting the numbers to further improve, and they might also cross 1 lakh odd crore rupees, because government will soon be now preparing a combined data for the entire year, that is 9 months under the GST regime starting from 1st July. Now, not just this, government officials feel that come April, there will be further checks and balances when April collections that will be reflected in the month of May. That e-way bill has already kicked in, plus some other measures have also come in where government is trying to check the tax evasion and tax leakages from the system, and this would lead to further improvement in the collections of April and May. So let's see whether government actually is able to receive around 1 lakh odd crore rupees starting from the month of April, because that is what the expectation is and is estimated in the budget also. But as of now, good numbers coming in under GST regime. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Timsi. Thanks very much for that. Well, we spoke to Morvin Godino, the GST Council member from Goa, and MS Money, the partner at Deloitte, on what they make of these numbers. Let's listen in to what they have to say.
We were hoping to see this happen, and it has happened. We touching 96,000 crores, the collection touching that, and that is as of 23rd. It may go up slightly further by end of the month. And come April collections, it will be nothing less than 1 lakh crore. And even with the e-way bill coming, and after a month of that, in fact, I expect the revenues to further go up at least 10 to 15%. We are looking at the overall buoyancy in revenues. And if March figures as of 23rd speak of 96,000 crores, I think we are moving towards that situation. I can safely say we are really moving towards a good situation.
It's a happy coincidence that TCS achieving 100 billion market cap and GST collections, also coming close to, 100,000 crores. I think it's a good thing to happen. But I would say that GST should not be viewed from the prism of tax collection alone. Industry has encountered a lot of difficulties in getting GST compliant. People are perpetually making changes to their systems and processes ever since GST started. My sense would be that the revenue stabilization of GST is very good. We are delighted with it. But this should be used as an opportunity to allow the system to cool down and stabilize a bit.
Well, let's get straight to a corporate news break now. Yet another twist in the long list of twists and turns in the race for Fortis Healthcare. Now, multiple players have thrown in their hats to buy Fortis, and the board is expected to take a decision by this Thursday. Now, sources tell us that Manipal-backed private equity player TPG could hold the upper end in this particular race. Nisha Podar is here to explain why. Nisha.
as the deadline for putting in the final binding bid for Fortis Healthcare really nears, there is an important point to note here, and sources with direct knowledge of the agreement between Manipal TPG as well as Fortis Healthcare's board do share with CNBC TV18 that there is an important right that TPG Manipal really retains by way of their agreement that they signed for a transaction with Fortis board earlier. Now, that right is the right to match the highest offer coming in for Fortis Healthcare. So that means that from the day a higher offer than Manipal TPG comes into the picture for Fortis Healthcare, they will get now the 5 days to evaluate and match that particular offer. So Manipal TPG still retains that right and has an upper hand over all the bidders for Fortis Healthcare is the understanding from this right. Now, Fortis Healthcare board had requested Manipal TPG to waive this particular offer, but we do gather from sources that as of today, Manipal TPG has refused to waive their right to match. What this also means is that Munjal Burman, who gave their offer a few days back, so Manipal TPG's deadline for matching their offer or going ahead on counter bidding their offer really ends tomorrow. But by the end of tomorrow, if any other binding offer comes in, then TPG Manipal will have the right to match that particular offer, is what we really gather from sources with direct knowledge. So this highly contested battle is getting even more interesting at this point.
Well, aluminium prices have plunged as the US has softened its stance on Rusal sanctions. Nigel, now tell us what the latest details are and what this means today.
Well, you know, Ekta, a couple of trading sessions ago, aluminium prices did start moving lower. That was on the back of reports that Rusal could be nationalized. Remember, currently it belongs to Oleg Deripaska. Now, overnight, what the US has said...
It's a Russian company, right?
Yes,
yeah.
Rusal is one of the large aluminium producers globally. Now, overnight, we've seen, you know, the biggest decline that we've seen in nearly a decade. You have Alcoa as well. That, in fact, was down close to around 13-14% overnight. Now, the US Treasury, what they've said overnight is that, in fact, they could relax those sanctions on Rusal. They've laid out a couple of conditions. One is if Oleg Deripaska relinquished control. That's, in fact, if he's not in charge of the company. And the second factor was they had said that there was a deadline. If you want to deal with Rusal, then the coming months, you have to really close all of that down. Now, they've extended that period to October, you know, to wind down any kind of business with Rusal. So on the back of that, in fact, we are seeing that prices have corrected by nearly around 10%. Why is Rusal important? It produced close to around 3.5 million tons of aluminium in 2017. That would mean that nearly around 5 to 6% of the global aluminium production. And if you take it ex-China, then that number goes up to nearly around 13%. They operate various mines and smelters all across the globe. But one quick point here. Remember, on the day that, in fact, these sanctions were imposed on Rusal, at that point of time, the prices were at around $1,980 per ton. Then they went up all the way to around $2,700 on a per ton basis. And currently, they're around $2,240 per ton. So it's still 10% higher than the lows that we saw on April 6th. And importantly, no one on the street was building a number, you know, of around $2,500, $2,600 or $2,700 per ton. But the three stocks that will be under pressure, Nalco, Hindalco, as well as Vedanta. Watch out for Vedanta. That could get some cushion because, you know, we'd have that crude play as well out there. One more point. In the last hour of trade yesterday, all these three stocks, they ended virtually at the low point of the day, but they'll definitely open up lower today.
Okay, all right, Nigel, thanks very much for that. So that's on aluminium stocks. But Infosys has drawn up a 3-year roadmap to accelerate growth in the digital space. In his first formal address to investors as CEO, Salil Parekh set a 3-year target to stabilize turnaround the company. Rima joins in this morning to tell us more. Rima.
Hi, thanks for that. Yes, as you rightly pointed out, it's a 3-year roadmap set by the new CEO of Infosys, Salil Parekh. So FY19 is going to be a year of stabilization, FY20 to build momentum, and FY21 to accelerate, which then raises a question whether the company can, see industry-leading growth only in FY21. That is 3 years hence. But of course, that we'll know in time. Like he had reiterated in his press conference, the vision for the company is pillared around 4 key key themes. One is scale up their digital portfolio. Secondly, energize the core, which is a traditional legacy business. Thirdly, reskill the employees. And fourthly, on localization, which is bring in a lot more on-site presence. Now, on digital, a lot of time was spent on the digital theme, where he said that currently Infosys has a $2.79 billion digital portfolio. But the opportunity is 16,000 to 20,000 crore rupees. And this is a space which is seeing a 15% compounded growth. And to tap the 16,000, 20,000 crore opportunity, Infosys is focusing its strategy around 5 key themes. So one is experience, insight, innovate, accelerate, and assure. But the key theme that came out from the management speak is that this, this transition, this disruption which is taking place is a lot deeper and long-lasting. Clients are adopting digital at a faster pace. They're looking to digitize the core, focus on user experience. So this is an opportunity which is here to stay. It's a lot more long-lasting. Apart from that, they will continue their focus on their traditional business. In that, they will adopt automation, big data, analytics, etc., to beef up their traditional business. But they're also looking to increase their sales force with the aim of tapping large clients. On localization, the important point is that they will be, setting up delivery hubs across the US. But you would have thought that the profitability on site would be less than that of offshore. But here the management says that the profitability of these on-site centers would be higher than if the company had used the traditional H1B based model. Over the medium term. So that was an interesting takeaway. So on the whole, nothing material to move the stock in today's trade, but the management has come out with a clearer picture, a 3-year roadmap, and reiterated very emphatically that digital is a strong portfolio and a strong growth area for the company.
Okay, all right, Rima, thanks so much for that. Well, on that note, let's listen out to what Infosys CEO Salil Parekh had to say on the outlook for the company going ahead.
The first year in fiscal 19 to stabilize where we are, the second year to start to build momentum, and the third year to start to accelerate, where we can have more and more share of our clients' relevance, and that will obviously translate overall to a better Infosys.
Okay, well, shifting focus to earnings now, Bharti Infratel posted its Q4 numbers. The numbers were slightly ahead of expectations on the back of better energy revenues. Rima, back to you.
Yes, so on the whole, very marginally ahead of street expectation. You could even say in line, in that the service business, which is your traditional rental business to telecom operators, that came subdued or in line with expectations. The beat came in on the back of energy revenues and the efficiency that our company could eke over there. There is a final dividend of 14 rupees per share, so that can provide support. But the longer theme for the medium-term theme for Bharti Infratel is that a lot of the smaller players like TTSL, Reliance Communication, Aircel have shut operations, which will hurt the overall tenancy growth. Even in this quarter, the tenancy has dropped to 2.3 versus 2.38. And the Idea Vodafone merger is yet to reflect, which is why a lot of analysts believe that, the worst perhaps is yet to come for Bharti Infratel, and that could keep the earnings under check. For the numbers per se, revenues are flat at 3,662 crore. Margins have come in just about 30 basis points lower on a quarter-on-quarter basis. On the back of an other income, the profits have risen despite lower margins. There is an exceptional loss booked by the company due to potential losses pertaining to Aircel. So on the whole, this quarter was in line, but the street is not that gung-ho about the company's financials going ahead, because Idea Vodafone merger, they will look to bring out synergies, cut down the co-locations of the tenancy, so that could hurt growth going ahead.